Welcome back to the Call on Our Shot podcast. In this video, we recap all of week 2 in the NFL, talk about some overrated teams, talk about some QB injuries, which feels like every QB is injured these days, and so much more. If you are new, my name's Austin. What would a podcast be without its running mate? As always, we're joined by Logan. Logan, it's good to see you. I'll be honest, a couple things to get off my chest. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep. I watched that ladder challenge last night. I love the 2 Monday night games, but man, that Amari and Hampton not getting us some rush yards really. I can't, man. Yeah, that's just tough. But we're gonna push through and we're gonna have a good time. But let's talk a little bit about week 2, Logan. Let's talk about both of our teams first and foremost. Your Panthers look like trash again. Hey, good teams win, great teams cover. So we love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Great cover at the end of the game. Speaking of my team, the Jets, I can't call another team trash because man, they look terrible. But how are you doing on this fine Tuesday morning?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I would have been a lot better if the ladder cashed. Unlike you, I went to bed not very hopeful that it was going to cash. I just didn't like the way those picks were trending, and naturally Hampton hurt us, but that's okay. You mentioned our bad teams. Hey, man, the Carolina Panthers gave me a little bit of hope at that end of the game, and then what they do, they took it right away. You get an onside kick. That was the first onside kick Carolina's covered since 2019. That was pre-COVID. And then, they just couldn't do anything with it. Bryce Young I just wish Bryce Young would take a check down every now and then. I mean, it's like 2nd and 10, and he's like, got to get all 10 yards. Some of these young quarterbacks just don't take check downs. And Chuba Hubbard was in open naked in the flat several times, and I was watching it. I was just like, please, just check it down. But Carolina at least came back and gave me some watch.
Rough watch for the Panthers at the end of that game. I just had so much hope that maybe they could pull it off. It was on your birthday too, a legacy comeback. Nope.
I wanted it.
I honestly turned off the Jets game after like first quarter. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Justin Fields, he drops back and is just running. Now he's concussed. We'll talk about some QB injuries at the end of the video. I mean, the Jets looked abysmal. But look, let's just dive into some overrated teams. Maybe I'm pissed about the ladder losing, and maybe I'm just ready to ream some teams. But I got some good ones on my docket. But I'll let you lead things off with a team that maybe like is 2-0 right now, but you're not buying in on the hype. You think that they're overrated. You think they might miss the playoffs. What team you feeling?
Ooh. All right. Now, if I knew the criteria was miss the playoffs,
no, miss the playoffs is just they just okay. Maybe they're a Super Bowl favorite. You're like, I can't see it. I can't buy in.
Oh yeah, no, I have a great one. It's the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry, I have to say that they're overrated, and it's because the hype train I think is just way too ahead of where they actually are. Number one, they got a big time win on Thursday Night Football. The country saw that. They saw them beat Jaden Daniels, and that was, like I said, there's a potential, NFC championship type matchup. I mean, we could see that for sure. I just don't like the way I don't like what's going to happen to them when they face better teams. And I'm not calling Washington bad. I'm just saying their strategy of playing press man and blitzing the house is only going to get you so far. I think those DBs are good, but it's going to take a team kind of scheming up a better offensive attack to kind of get them. Like I said, the week 1, we looked at them and they obliterated the Lions, and we were like, yeah, they're putting the world on notice. But the Lions, I don't think, had a good game plan. I'm excited to see what they do a second time around because the Lions finally got things back on track. I don't think this is a runaway division win for the Packers, which is why I'm calling them mildly overrated. Also, Jordan Love, it's going to come up. It's going to happen in the playoffs when he's going to need to find his guy. And I'd argue there's just a bunch of very good, not great receivers in this offense. Josh Jacobs has been great, and I'm not going to slander him at all. He's got a touchdown in how many straight games? But, I just think this offense it's not going to go as far as Tucker Kraft is going to carry them. They can't rely on guys like that to just backpack this offense. And I understand they're 2-0, and I understand that the hype in Lambeau is real, but I just think they should pump the brakes a little bit before they say that they're Super Bowl contenders, because I don't quite yet see it.
Yeah, I think it's a hot take. I mean, the Packers defense has looked as good as any defense in the NFL so far this season. I'm looking at their schedule. They don't really run into a lot of tough teams. Early bye week might be good or bad. I'm not really too sure. That might actually mess with the rhythm with an early bye week, but their first 2 games have been at home, and that's definitely going to help you if you're going to play at home. Now they go on the road against a very good Cleveland defense. I'm not saying Cleveland's good, by any stretch of the imagination, but a good defense at least. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I do think people are already like crowning them Super Bowl winners. And
Seems
I
like
don't know
it.
about that, but I do think they're going to get into some games where Jordan Love's going to have to make the throws, and he's made them. But again, he really hasn't faced a ton of pressure in either of these two games. He's just chucking it. I don't know if the chucking it motto is going to work all season, but we'll see. I think they're still as good as it gets, but that's a hot take. I'll go with the Philadelphia Eagles for mine. After what I saw last night, I think the NFL is going to start cracking down on the tush push. And I think that could pose some problems because last night Chargers tried to run it and they made the Chargers offensive linemen back up and reset and stuff like that. Because I mean, you can look, there's probably like 12 penalties on the tush push that the Eagles run. Everyone's false starting. I wouldn't be shocked if they start getting called for some false starts. The NFL, obviously, some teams tried to ban the tush push early in the off season. It didn't get banned. I would be shocked if it's in the next year just because of, the play in, and it's just a disaster. But my real main qualm with the Eagles, we know they have a talented roster. This team cannot pass to to save their lives. They can't. And I saw Chris Jones yelling at Jalen Hurts in the huddle at the end of the game. Dude, you got 100 yards, and Jalen Hurts like, no, we won the game. No, it's just not going to work every game to win like that. The Chiefs made so many mistakes. Travis Kelce dropping it on the goal line. They could easily won that game. I'm not bought in on this Eagles. This offense sucks. Kevin Patullo, their new offensive coordinator, who was their passing game coordinator last year, the team can't throw the football. And sure, you can be 2-0 right now, but if you can't throw the football, you're not winning. And last year they were able to. I like Kellen Moore a lot. I think he's a great offensive coordinator now, head coach for the Saints. I'm out. I'm out on the Saints. I'm out on the Eagles, man. I think this team is very fraudulent. And while they'll win a lot of games, I just can't buy it, man. I can't. I'm pissed.
You're allowed to say takes like that, but for anybody who's listening to this and doesn't know, I live in Philadelphia. Not an Eagles fan, but I do live in Philadelphia. And every time I go to the barbershop, they drape me in an Eagles cape. And it's just they always ask me, they're like, how do you think about the Birds? Are we good? And I was like, I told them, I was like, I'm a little bit worried about that Chiefs game because, I just haven't seen a whole lot offensively. And they're like, oh, no, we're still going to win. We're going to BTA in Kansas City. And I mean, they won, but as you mentioned, Austin, it's not convincing. And I totally get your point, though, about what Kellen Moore really brought to that offense. It looks completely different. I mean, he was able to scheme guys open, and it really doesn't feel like Jalen Hurts is having those, deep down the field type throws where guys are just getting open down the field. He's so comfortable taking he's what I wish Bryce Young would do. He's so comfortable taking checkdowns. I mean, that's what he's just like, look, guys, I don't want to do too much. And maybe the reason why we're not seeing the Eagles offense unleashed is because like they're waiting to really, unleash the offense, and they're just playing the game that they need to play, which I totally respect. But you got Saquon Barkley. I mean, that's a weapon enough. I do agree, though. I could see the tush push. They're going to start throwing flags on that. So many people have come out against that false start penalty.
I mean, yeah, it's all over my Twitter. It's just like someone draws a line and all 6 of them are offsides. So I think that's going to be. I wouldn't be shocked if that's my not so bold prediction for week 3. They get called for a penalty there. I think the NFL, they didn't ban it obviously, but they've seen the noise. I mean, heck, the officials were already changing it a little bit last night with the Chargers. Wouldn't shock me at all. We'll see how the Eagles, though. They have a tough stretch of games, though. I'm looking at. They host the Rams this week. They go down to Tampa, where they've historically struggled the week after that. And then they have a very good Broncos team, again, hosting them. So, I don't know. They got some tough games coming in here. But I have a question for you, Logan. Because I was thinking about this over the weekend while I was watching this team win in fraudulent fashion. Indiana Jones and the Colts.
Whoa.
They feel, and I might be wrong on this, and I don't mean it in harm this way. I don't mean it in a bad way for the Colts fans out there. They feel like last year's Saints. And I think you remember the Saints, they looked unreal. I mean, through the first 2 games, they were 2-0. I think they just stomped on the Cowboys. They hadn't punted or whatever it was. And they had, you're thinking about a QB that a lot of people didn't like, and Derek Carr on his second team. You could say the same thing for Daniel Jones. Technically, he was a third team if you want to count his 2-month stint with the Vikings. But they looked awesome through 2 games. They were dominating teams, and then the wheels fell off. And we know what happened with the Saints last year. Do you think the Colts are better than that? I just feel like they should have lost. They got lucky with the penalty, sure, and they've looked good on offense. But could teams catch up to them? Could teams see the schemes and stuff like that and be like, all right, we can stop this? I could see something, man. I feel like Colts fans are being led on to think they're better than they are. What do you feel? How do you feel about the Colts? I think they're fun. I love Indiana Jones. Great nickname.
I
I
told
don't
you
know.
last
How do you
week
feel about it?
that I told you last week that I'm all bought in on the Indiana Jones hype. I was bought in on the Colts, picked them to win. And I didn't think it would come in that weird dramatic fashion where it just kind of felt like the refs were like, yeah, come on, you get a do-over. It did feel like that. Now the penalty was committed, but we know that. But I think this team is still playoff bound, and I think they're going to win this division. And now we need to curb our expectations a little bit. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to compete for an AFC championship. But what they can do is win this division, because I think they are still the best team in this AFC South. And that's not really a hot take, because I mean, you got the Jaguars, who they can't stay out of their own way. You've got the Texans, who offensively they look so bad right now. You got the Titans, who are in rebuild. So I still think they can win this division, which is why I'm saying we can buy into the hype. They can win some divisional games. And who knows? I mean, teams that play well together, it just works. I don't think the Saints comparison is a good comparison, because that Saints team, everybody kind of sniffed it out from the start. They said, watch when they play better teams. Well, because I think they played Carolina week 1, blew out Carolina. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So you played a bad team there. Am I remembering that right? Go fact check me.
I'm looking it up. Let me look. That's correct. They did trounce the same Panthers. So maybe
So like they blew out Carolina, put the world on notice. Then they beat Dallas, and then everyone was just like, okay, well, this is a good team. But it's the way in which the Colts are kind of playing is what I like their brand of football. It's not, don't make Daniel Jones do too much. And I mentioned that they love relying on Jonathan Taylor. Daniel Jones is making great reads to something he didn't do in New York. It felt like in New York, his head was just spinning. He was just panicking every time the pocket would collapse a little bit. It would just be throw it, bad read. He looks a lot better, a lot more polished in this offense, and guys are getting open for him. So I like what I'm seeing from Indy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they are the Saints 2.0. I'm not writing them off completely. They are still plus money to win the division at plus 140. I was just looking at it on FanDuel. I just think I think maybe people need to pump the brakes a little bit on it. Their schedule's not too easy. I was just looking at the end of it. I mean, after week 8 against the Titans, they get both of their Titans games out early this week at Tennessee. They got Pittsburgh, Atlanta, bye week, Kansas City. They got Houston twice in the back end, Jacksonville twice in the back end, and then Seattle and San Fran. So it's not the easiest schedule for them. But based on what I saw from the Texans on Monday Night Football, I mean, geez, I don't know what the hell that team's doing. But whatever. I don't know. The Texans are a team I'm so far out on. This week feels like a must-win week for them. They go down to Jacksonville. I mean, you're 0-2, you can't drop to 0-3. The Jags got enough questions of themselves. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., he looks scared to get hit. And I can't blame him, though. Like, how do you feel about the BTJ stuff? Because, like, BTJ, you could look at one thing, like, hey, the man's afraid to get hit. Second thing is, like, Trevor Lawrence just throwing some hospital balls. Like, hey, man, go in between 3 guys and catch it. I don't blame him for easing up on those. But how do you feel about that Jaguar situation, what you've seen from the Jags 2 weeks through the Liam Cohen experience?
Yeah, I mean, schematically, I think they're a lot better offense. And as we mentioned, the Brian Thomas Jr. thing is a little bit weird, because sometimes receivers do get in their own head. I mean, it's like any sport. It's like baseball when some of the hitters are in their own head at the plate. So if you're scared to get hit, if you're bracing for contact, you're gonna look really funky when you try to catch the football. And I think that's what we're gonna see, or that's kind of what we're seeing. There's so many young quarterbacks, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence is classified as a young quarterback anymore, that do throw hospital balls. Bryce Young's so guilty of it. And I was sitting on my couch, and my wife was next to me, and I was like, oof, that was a hospital ball. She's like, what the hell is a hospital ball? And I was like, well, when you throw it up and your receiver is just extremely exposed across the middle, and they're going to get decapitated, essentially, like that's a hospital ball. And Trevor Lawrence got to be one of the worst culprits as well. I mean, so he's got to tone that down a little bit, obviously, if you're going to get your receivers killed across the middle. But yeah, I mean, this Jags offense, I still think they'll be all right. Again, in the division, I think they'll be able to compete offensively. Defensively, never really liked their defense. Still don't know what they're going to do on that side of the ball. Offensively, I think they'll be all right though.
And look, I like the Jags. I think they're one of my more favorite watches of the season. I mean, they're fun. Liam Cohen's giving them some cool plays. Tootin's looking real good. I like BTJ. Travis Hunter, I don't really know how they're using him. I don't feel like they're using him correct. Cornerback, I mean, like he can play both sides. He had a good play that they called for a PI in the end of the game, which was kind of annoying. But I like what I've seen. Trevor Lawrence has got to be more accurate. I was just looking at his stats last year, only 60% completion. 59% so far through 2 weeks. Like, I mean, he's got to be better. And he's in year 5 right now. My father-in-law calls him Big Bird. So I'm just like, I mean, hey, Big Bird is just not looking all too good. I haven't talked to my father-in-law in a hot minute since the start of the season. So I don't know how he's feeling about Big Bird right now. He's a big Jaguars fan. But every time I see him, he's like, Big Bird. And then he says they're building him a new cage because they're building a new stadium. I'm just like, all right, I got to get out of here.
That's so fun.
But I love him. But speaking of some injuries, we can talk about some injuries. One of them, while we already kind of talked about Trevor Lawrence, last year's replacement was Mac Jones. We've already kind of talked about Brock Purdy and the replacement. But the big injury this season so far has been Joe Burrow. Is out for 3 months, Logan. How do you feel? Do you think Bengals fans would? I mean, I assume this is an easy layup. Would they prefer to be 0-2 with Joe Burrow or 2-0 without him?
2-0 with 2-0 without Joe Burrow? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, in the current state. Would you rather start the season 0-2 like normal, but still have Joe Burrow under center, or go 2-0, but you no longer have Joe Burrow for potentially the rest of the season?
Is it really a season-long injury? Because
I mean, he's out for 3 months potentially. So, like, I mean, we think about 3 months. That's at least 12 weeks. I mean, we're talking like week 15, maybe coming back 16, 17. So
yeah. I guess when I think whole season, I do think playoffs. And I guess maybe I'm kind of like siding with Bengals fans in this one because I'm sure they look at this 2-0 record and say, we got hope. And I think this team still has hope because Jake Browning, again, we're gonna talk about like our opinions on quarterbacks. I think he's pretty good. And I think within this offense, he'll be all right. I mean, he's got so many weapons at his disposal that I almost think it's kind of hard to come in there in that situation and botch it. Now I know, you got to take care of the football because you cannot win throwing interceptions. So he's got to be mindful of that. But T. Higgins, Jamar Chase Brown, it's like how many backup quarterbacks can you kind of plug into that situation, and then the offense is still competitive. I think that Bengals team, what we're not talking about is how far that defense will take them, that's what I question. I mean, they were sort of lucky kind of to win that Jags game like they did. I mean, you got a favorable pass interference call at the end. But I still think 2-0 with Jake Browning, there's worse situations in the world because I still think they can compete with a playoff spot. I mean, you got Ravens and Steelers, obviously the kings of that division. But if you're telling me they could steal one of those games from each of those teams, I'd say certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jake Browning. I think out of like backup QBs, he's one of the better ones, if you will. Like, I mean, if he plays well here, he could very well be starting for a team next year. That's not a very hot take. If he plays well, which he has done, he played a lot in 2023 when Burrow went down. I think that it was with his wrist injury. I think they'll be fine. But I don't know. They have a tough schedule. I was just looking at it this week at Minnesota. We'll talk about their QB injury in just a second. Then Denver, Detroit, Green Bay. These are 4 not great matchups. Pittsburgh, sure, you get to go into the bye, Jets and Bears, but man, it's not an easy schedule for the Bengals in the slightest. So I could see them running into some trouble here. But you're right. Browning's got all the weapons at his disposal. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, Yoshavash. I mean, they got a bunch of good tight ends as well. So, like, he's set up, but again, that defense. Oof.
Let's talk about throw picks. Can't throw picks either. I mean, we know that.
I mean, they have to win. Basically, they have to play mistake-free football. They don't, and they're just cooked. I mean, they should have lost to the Jaguars. They should have lost in week 1, though. So when I say this, I'm not too I don't know if I'm bought in really on the Bengals a whole lot. This team's bad. Trevor Lawrence was just making mistake after mistake. I mean, the man threw 2 interceptions. Pretty sure both were in the red zone when they could have put up some points. I'm a little skeptical. I mean, Browning had 3 picks of himself, so I'm not too. I think Browning is just, if you're a Jamar Chase fantasy owner, you'll be fine because literally he hikes it and just looks at Jamar. So if you're getting targets, I'm a little scared. I'm a little scared for the Bengals. They might go on a hot losing streak. But let's talk about a guy. I feel like the Vikings are in a tough spot here. Because what if Carson, we know JJ McCarthy just announced yesterday, injury, high ankle sprain, if I'm not mistaken, out 2 to 4 weeks. What if Carson Wentz comes in here and actually looks good? I think that might be worst case scenario. Because what if he comes in and looks good? And I'm looking at their schedule. They could win these next few games. I mean, they have the Bengals this week against Jake Browning. They go to Dublin. I'm looking at their schedule. They have back-to-back games in other places. It looks like we got the Dublin game in week 4. I don't know what this week 5 is. Maybe it's another Cleveland game. I'm not really 100% sure. Or another game in Dublin. But again, they have those games. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. They could win all 3 of those games with Carson Wentz. And what if that's 3 weeks? I mean, then they're bye week. So even though McCarthy was out 2 to 4 weeks, you'd think 3 weeks, bye week, you'd probably give him 4 or 5 weeks to get ready. What if they're 3-0? Do you think JJ McCarthy gets the ball back after what we've seen so far?
I still think, unfortunately, I know Vikings fans will be very divided on that situation. I still think they would defer to the quarterback that they named the starter before he went down. But again, that's with caution, because really what we saw in that Falcons game was what I thought we were going to see more in that, week 1 matchup, where a rookie quarterback looks like a rookie quarterback, where their primary read isn't there, their eyes immediately drop, and then their defensive it's just defenses feast on that. They feast on young quarterbacks, where their primary read isn't there. And that's what we were seeing with McCarthy. I mean, he was just trying to scramble. He's trying to make things happen. That does not work at the pro level. This is not Indiana. This is not Purdue. These are opponents. And I've seen that kind of discourse on Twitter. Like the NFL game plays really fast. I mean, it's like first read, second read, third read, check down. It's just like that. And I think we were kind of all fooled week 1, where they just looked very good offensively against Chicago, but Chicago's the same team that gave up 50 points. I mean, to the Lions. So really, how good was that win? As the season goes on, if Carson Wentz does look like, the veteran quarterback that he is, if he's in this Kevin O'Connell offense, which, I've talked about, this is a great system for quarterbacks. I believe you can plug in a lot of quarterbacks. You can plug in Sam Darnold. You can plug in guys like that and make them look good. I'm actually really excited for what they're going to do with Carson Wentz, because I think they're going to make him, look very good in this offense. And then there's going to be, I'm so glad you've already talked about the narrative of, do they put back in JJ McCarthy? Because that wasn't even something I was thinking about. I was like, oh yeah, sure, it will be McCarthy's job once he comes back. But then I was like, imagine Wentz does look good, because I think he is going to look good, and those opponents are all very winnable.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Sam Darnold. I mean, no one thought Sam Darnold was good at all. He bounced around so many teams. Carson Wentz the same thing. We've seen him come in before and look good. I feel like he still has some left in the tank. I think, honestly, Vikings fans, I get wanting to win this year, but I think you might want Carson Wentz not to look good. I get you want to win, but realistically, I was looking at their schedule. I said, so they have a weird schedule. I mean, like I said, they have the Dublin game in week 4. They stay overseas with a London in week 5. So very weird schedule for them. And then they have their bye week. I don't know, man. Their game after the bye, a little revenge game. Carson Wentz taking on his Eagles. That game's at home, not in Philly. But man, I don't know. I don't think I'd want Carson Wentz to look good. Maybe that's a crazy take, because you obviously want your team to win. But if you want to figure out if JJ McCarthy is the truth or not, you can't do it when he's sitting on the bench behind Carson Wentz. How old is Carson Wentz? I don't know, man. I was thinking about this. I was like, oh no. JJ. I mean, I want to root for JJ. He's a young guy. They spent a lot on him, but I mean, Carson's only 32. Get some juice in there. Maybe it looks good.
I mean, he does definitely. I don't know. That's the age old question. Is like, what do you do when a veteran replaces your young quarterback and then he looks good? Because I still think I'm trying to enter Kevin O'Connell's mind, and I still think he's going to be a JJ McCarthy guy. Again, is that to his detriment? We'll see. I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
I mean, he has to be a JJ McCarthy guy. You guys spent a
Yeah.
top 10 pick on him, so he has to be invested in him. But at the same time, you got to play what wins games. I mean, look, here's what I'm thinking. Carson Wentz has these 3 games: Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, all in the division. Then a bye week. JJ McCarthy, you assume, returns. But it's not like he returns to an easy matchup. It's against Philly. Then he goes on the road, taking on the Chargers, and then on the road, taking on Detroit, then at home against Baltimore. It's like he's getting set up for failure. Well, he could, if he doesn't improve, the guy's getting set up. He's getting set up, man. Maybe this is a Kevin O'Connell inside job giving him the ankle sprain. Because, geez, that is a tough schedule if he is to return after their bye, after week 6. He's got a gauntlet. Those are 4 of the top 10 teams in football. And he's just getting thrown into the fire.
That was, yeah, I was looking at the schedule you were talking. That is actually very rough. And again, something to note though, I mean, when these teams draft quarterbacks too, it is a lot on front office and scouting talent and things like that. Sometimes the head coach is just stuck with a guy that they're like, maybe I like him, maybe I don't love him as much. So to say Kevin O'Connell's necessarily a 100% JJ McCarthy guy, I don't know that. You and I will never know that. We're not JJ, or we're not Kevin O'Connell. So maybe he's half bought in and he's just like, well, the front office wants him. They got to play him. So my hands are tied. That can happen as well. We've seen, teams get, taken over hostage because the front office wants one thing. The head coach doesn't want the other. So we'll see how it plays out though.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm rooting for Carson Wentz. I hope he plays well. It's always cool to see guys that have been bouncing around as backups get a chance. Final question before we get out of here, Logan. What week do you think Mike McDaniel gets fired?
All right, let's look at the Dolphins schedule.
I haven't. In case you guys are for the people out there that might have a significant other, Monday, September 29th, feel free to plan a date that night. Monday Night Football's Dolphins and Jets.
Oh, no.
Count me so far out on watching that. That is just disgusting. I mean, I think McDaniel's going to be spared a little bit. Thursday, you get an absolutely just disgusting game against Buffalo. Wouldn't be shocked if you just said you cut the string there. You just, when they get smacked by 100, you cut the string, then you get an interim head coach, and you get to take on the Jets and the Panthers, our 2 teams back to back. You think you can win those 2, right? Interim coach, if you're going to get some easy matchups, you get those 2. But when was the earliest the coach has been fired, though? Like, what is that?
I would need to know that. I don't know. Look it up. See if you can find it. But you looking at the schedule, my prediction is they get fired, or he gets fired after 2 primetime embarrassments. The Thursday night game, which they should lose. I mean, they're double-digit dogs for a reason. And I think if and when they let the New York Jets come into town and beat them on Monday Night Football with the world watching again, it will be that Tuesday that the Dolphins have parted ways with Mike McDaniel, because it's two primetime losses like that. It just sets the team up for failure. So if and when that happens, I mean, this Dolphins teams look so bad. They're infighting. We know that. Tyreek Hill just not happy with that situation. Why would he be? A defense that looks so bad. Yeah, I mean, when you let the Patriots come in town and put 33 on them, right?
Yeah, 33.
When you let that Patriots offense come in there and put 33 on you in your stadium, I mean, yeah, that should have been wraps. But I think they're just going to let a few more games play out just to give him the benefit of the doubt. Say maybe it's a slow start, but when you lose 2 more divisional games, both on prime time, yeah, that's going to be wraps for him.
Yeah, it's nasty. I was reading some articles while you're talking. Last time Miami fired a coach mid-season was one of the earliest fires, Joe Philbin in 2015 after week 4. He was let go. I'm kind of just looking at some other ones. Could send them. I'm looking. I don't see a lot of guys getting fired mid-season. Lane Kiffin in 2008, I'm seeing, was fired after 4 games. Dennis Allen, same kind of thing. I mean, firing a guy after week 3 is insane work. I don't think he gets fired then.
No, he should.
But I mean, if it came on my ticker, say Mike McDaniel, he walks into the office Friday morning after a shellac into the Bills, and it's like he's been let go. That's not shocking anyone. And it wouldn't be, like I said, a terrible time to fire him, because you have a long week to prepare for that Monday night game against the Jets. If you're going to work in an interim coach, that's probably the best time to do it. Logan, we'll get out of here for the people. Is there any other final takeaways you had from week 2 or what you're looking forward to in week 3?
I liked to see one of your predictions for this past week was a lot more points. Hey, we saw that. So I like to continue to see these offenses grow. The better teams in the league are the ones that are really looking good offensively. And I'm definitely excited to see how that plays out week to week. Who's going to be a contender? Who's going to be a pretender? I mean, those are narratives that as the season goes on, we're going to really be able to talk about because we have such a small sample size at 2-0. I mean, hell, you mentioned the Bengals are 2-0. If you would have blindfolded me and said, look at how they played in these 2 games, what do you think their record is? And I didn't know the outcome. I would say at best 1-1, but so you still got some kind of fraudulent things happening. So we're going to see how it plays out. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, it'll be a fun week 3. We'll talk about all of our favorite picks on Wednesday's video where we go through every single game on the slate and give you our favorite bet. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Logan, it's been a good time. It's been the Call on a Shot podcast. Let us know any topics you want us to address next week. If you had fun, drop a like, and we'll see you guys back tomorrow with our week 3 best bets for every single game. See you guys then. Peace.